I'm Patrick Breen. I'm the VP of what we call solution sales and corporate accounts. That is a recent change that has just taken place, and that is part of the reason that we're actually on this call. We're going to be talking about the roadmap of Topcon and where we're looking to go. Traditionally, we have been a capital equipment vendor, talking about it could be OCT, could be photography, could be lane equipment, could be fields. And where we're moving right now is we're changing from that into what we call a digital healthcare company. And so as we go throughout the entire program, if you've got questions, please, by all means, you can post them in the chat that shows up. If you can just click on the chat and you can see where you can type it in. We'll take different questions and pause for a minute to be able to answer those questions. And then at the very end, you'll see the slide has my email on there. By all means, please feel free to reach out to me if you want to have further conversation, either via email, text, or even a phone call. Happy to do that. Or if you do want to speak to a representative within your area, we can also get you in touch with he or she who would be able to help you out from that standpoint. So again, healthcare from the eye is what you're going to hear a lot of. And the idea behind that is the eye is the window to the body. It used to be the eye is the window to the brain and the nervous system. What we're finding through artificial intelligence and a lot of what we're going to be talking about here is that it is the easiest way for us to have access to lots of different pathologies. It could just simply be physiology, vascular structure, whatever that might be. So we're going to start first with a video that will explain what healthcare from the eye is as we're moving forward and how that is going to impact the market as we move forward. So I'll start with this. Hopefully you can hear the audio.
Your health. At Topcon Healthcare, we are revolutionizing the delivery of healthcare with healthcare from the eye. We see the eye as a window to the body, a way to transform management of health and detection of human diseases with a simple scan. Harmony, powered by Microsoft Azure, intelligently connects data and leverages AI for real-time clinical decision support, empowering delivery and scalability. With Topcon, patients gain greater insights into their health that can improve their quality of life. It's time to offer patients a new vision of healthcare, one that increases access, that reduces costs, and elevates the quality of care, creating real-world impact in the blink of an eye. Topcon Healthcare. Healthcare from the eye.
All right, so when you see that movie, it kind of gives you a little feel of maybe a bit of Star Trek as you're taking a look at that. And oddly enough, with artificial intelligence and the way that things are moving, this is not a matter of the future. This is something that is here right now. And it's all based on what you see up here, and that's something called oculomics. Simply put, oculomics is deriving insights to overall health, utilizing images of the back of the eye. So that overall health could be your cardiovascular. It could be your eye health, which we're normally used to talking to. It could be your kidney. It could be the brain, Alzheimer's, all of these different pathologies and disease states off of just one simple fundus image of your left eye and another on your right eye, so that way we're able to then put that into what we call our ecosystem of healthcare from the eye. It's going to involve the patients all the way through primary care. And up to this point, let me pause for a second. We really have looked at a healthcare system that is rather fragmented. And what I mean by that is that you'll have primary care, you may have optometry, you may have ophthalmology, the various specialties within each of those. But then you've got nephrology, cardiology, neurology, all of these different specialties. And for the most part, we try to get our patients connected to the proper caregiver, but it's very antiquated, the system that is out there right now. There are offices that are still faxing. And what we're trying to do with this Healthcare from the Eye initiative is utilize today's technology to, one, find earlier disease, but then two, get that patient that may have disease to the proper healthcare professional so that way they can be treated. So keep that in mind, because that's the basic backbone of healthcare from the eye as we're moving forward. So how does it work? How do you implement healthcare from the eye? It's part of the patient journey. So Topcon, we are uniquely positioned right now simply because of the way that our instrumentation has been engineered, and that is robotics. Very simplistic acquisition. Anybody can be trained how to take a photo, how to take an OCT, other technologies that are out there and emerging that are going to be coming out where the simplicity of the instrument is simply a touch of a button and you're able to acquire the various diagnostic imaging that you're looking for. That imagery and data is then pulled into a system that we utilize called Harmony. And Topcon Harmony is the backbone of how we are going to manage the imagery as well as the data, not only within the office and talking to a patient and teaching them, and maybe even doctor to doctor within an office, and to the potential to the administrative staff where they're checking in somebody with work lists and DICOM capability of making it very efficient for the patient data to go from instrument to instrument. But where the real rubber meets the road is the efficiencies that are created for the physician to be able to review the information, the images, as well as other data. It could be a field, it could be a photo, it could be an OCT, it could be a number of different things that are put right in front of the physician via Harmony. And that allows for great efficiencies for the review of that information, then sharing that information, not only with the patient and for the diagnostics, but really as we start to look out into the entire ecosystem, as you see, we've got primary care, we've got specialty care, and then primary care down here. And as you look at it as a circle, the idea behind this is utilizing Harmony as that conduit to be able to send off that imagery and the data information that's needed for the patient. Whether or not your referring doctor or the doctor you're referring to has Harmony or not doesn't matter. We have that capability of being able to send over that information and allowing access into a Harmony platform that the doctors would be able to share back and forth that imagery as well as the data. And so that's really critical because as we're moving forward, it's going to really do four things. It's going to allow for earlier detection, which I'll cover off in a second here. Increased access, because we believe that there will be a myriad of instrumentation that is very close to where all these patients are located, and the access to that should be very affordable. And then enhanced equity. With that, does that mean everybody has access to this? It's not just simply going to be technology for the rich. It's going to be for everybody. And then with that, we believe with the earlier detection and the earlier access and equity, we are going to see a very strong savings or decreased cost in our healthcare from a societal standpoint, not only just office and patient to patient, but literally globally. We believe that we'll see a big impact. And so earlier detection, the reason that I like to pause here and bring this up is I think it's really important that we understand when you're talking about AI and you're trying to find the various diseases that are going to be out there, what the early detection is going to allow us to do is to very easily find those patients that, here's the statistic, 6 out of 10 will go and get their eyes examined every single year. That's excellent. You got a 60% chance that the patients that are out there are going to be coming in, they're going to be examined. And now if you put them in front of this type of technology, you have a chance to start to look into not just the simplistic images, but now maybe even systemic health, which we'll get into in a second. The flip side of that, though, is we're talking about the fragmentation of the different specialties that are out there. In primary care, 1 in 5 patients, believe it or not, will not have seen their primary care in 5 years or greater. So the chances of somebody seeing their primary care physician is much less than those that are going to see their vision specialist, whether it be an optometrist or an ophthalmologist. And so why that is critical when you start thinking about the revolution and evolution that is taking place as we're talking about this is that the eye world is going to take on a very strong position in being able to not only look at the health of the eye, but now start to find systemic issues that could be out there through the images of the fundus that are very easy to acquire. So when you start looking at the Harmony platform, we've got the digital diagnostics, the robotic diagnostics that we're looking at. Harmony now is something that's going to be that conduit that I mentioned for that information and that data inter-office as well as to the referrals. And so what's nice about Harmony is it's, as we put up here, vendor neutral connectivity. It's actually vendor inclusive is what we would call that. Whether you have an Optos, you have a Zeiss instrument, a Nidec instrument, they all can be pulled into the Harmony platform so that way the physicians have that ease of access and the same sort of efficiencies that are created whether you have Topcon equipment or you don't. And then as you move forward, you can mix and match as you need to, so that way there's not this huge capital lift for you to even remotely take dip your toe in the pool to see if it would work. Whatever you have out there right now, we could definitely hook it up to our Harmony platform and then show you the efficiencies that would take place, not only from the different instruments, but that multimodal viewer that we're talking about is what I was talking about earlier. If you want to be able to compare fields to your photographies, to your OCT, to your fluorescein, ICG, you name it, any of the diagnostics, we have the way to set that up, and we have editable hanging protocols so that if you as a physician have a certain way you like to review that data, we can set it up, edit it so that you have it exactly how you would like it. And if you have a physician partner, he or she likes it a different way, we can set it up specifically for them. Again, we talked about the referral portal. That really is going to be, I think, the biggest aspect as we're moving forward and why people are really going to see the strength of this. And that simply is getting the patient connected to the care that they need as we're moving forward. And we'll talk more about that as we're going through this. We mentioned in the video our Azure platform contract that we have with Microsoft, a very, very strong partnership. You get the access to all of the security that Microsoft brings with that cloud-based system, as well as with Harmony. So HIPAA and hanging onto that data and knowing it's secure, you can rest your head on your pillow every single night knowing that that is the case. We've got lots of analytics and reporting, integrations with EMRs and other softwares that you may be looking for. And then the main one that we're going to be talking about tonight is the AI marketplace, the artificial intelligence marketplace. And what does that mean to the treatment regimens that you may be looking at? And then more importantly, before you get to those treatment regimens, what does it mean for your patient's systemic health with very simplistic imagery that we're going to be looking at? So before we get into that, one of the things that we do like to talk about is there's the wellness model, and then that leads to the medical model. Now, most of the physicians that are on right now, you're very well versed at the medical model. On the wellness model, though, it's something that we've heard on a regular basis. I want to make sure that we cover off and really understand what is the wellness model, right? Today's patients, we're looking for more information to make better decisions on our own health, right? And so with that, the wellness market globally is about a $1.5 trillion marketplace. These are the types of wearables that you will see on a regular basis that we all have. I have my Oura Ring and my Apple Watch, none of which are making me any healthier or getting in shape any faster because maybe I'm not such a good listener. But it's a huge market. It's $55.5 billion. And of that $55.5 billion, in the United States, it's about 35 billion of that. And so what patients are looking for is better health. Could be how do I track my fitness or my nutrition? Maybe we're just looking to have a better appearance, better sleep, or maybe we want to get into more of the self-help and better mindfulness, work-life balance. Well, the instruments that you see up on the screen right now, they're great. They provide metrics. Could be your cardiovascular, what's your resting heart rate. Maybe it's going to be your overall temperature. These are just metrics. They're not going to do anything from the standpoint of giving you systemic health. Hey, you may have a cardiovascular risk. What it may do, though, is give you the metrics to then make better decisions about our health. Hey, my resting heart rate's a little high. My temperature may be a little bit high. I'm not going to lie to you. I had an experience 2 weeks ago that it alerted me I may have an issue and that I probably should be seen by a physician. That is great information that we all have access to on a regular basis. How does that play into how we take care of our patients as we start to move forward? And that is putting together something called the wellness screening program. Whether you're currently billing medically, that's great. If you're an optometrist that may be on this particular call and you're not, and you're thinking about maybe going down that medical billing model, what the wellness model will do is give all of us that are part of this conversation tonight a chance to offer something to our patients that they might otherwise not get. And we're going to use BioAge as one of the AI examples of the modules that are out there and what that might bring to your patients that are potentially having a chance to do this type of screening. There's different ways you can cover the screening. Some physicians will just simply say it's going to be part of my exam. I'm going to have everybody do it because I really like what it's bringing to the patient as far as information and me as the provider. Others may do a patient pay, cash pay model. And that is actually on the optometry side has been very successful. One of the groups or companies, I should say, that really was groundbreaking on that was Optos. and the ability to get ultra wide field imagery of the back of the eye without dilation. And then using that as a screening modality to see if there are any sort of pathologies, it could be microbleeds, whatever it may be, out into the periphery. So as we're moving forward, we want to really make sure that we're working with each of the clinics individually as to how would you implement this type of program. Would you want to do cash pay? Would you not? We can talk about ways to put it in front of your patient so that it feels very comfortable and then they can make a decision. But we would be along for the entire ride if you decided that you wanted to do some form of a pilot as we're moving forward. And so when you're considering the wellness model, I divide this into two halves, this particular slide, for a reason. One is we like to look at everything as a partnership, right? And it's growth opportunities that can come out of the wellness model. And then that wellness model possibly, bleeding into even your medical model. If you happen to find some form of disease or pathology, what does that do for your patients as you're moving forward? And then the referral model. So the first one is the wellness screening, which we just talked about. If you're not doing it, you can add that. If you are currently doing a wellness screening or some form of screening, what we're now seeing is that when you add something like a BioAge, an AI-derived type of program or module, it improves your screening conversion rates. In fact, in the study that BioAge did, a 6-month study in California and in Texas, they saw a 33% increase in the conversion rate. What's the conversion rate? The conversion rate is simply if I ask 100 patients, do you want to do the screening? What percentage say yes? So if 65% say yes, 65% is my conversion rate. So again, being able to grow that provides revenue. It also provides that super critical information that you may be looking for from a systemic disease that may be found simply from those two photographs. The third would be Maestro 2 with OCTA. OCTA is a new billing CPT code, just came out, 92137, started in January. On average, it's about $55, $56. If you're not doing OCTA right now and you're interested, our Maestro 2 does have OCTA, and that would enhance your capabilities. You also can perform the AI with the Maestro as you're moving forward as well. And then number 4, which is where I think you're going to start to see things grow fairly quickly over the next 18 months, is this whole primary care physician referral program with Harmony. So with that, we have an initiative that we're trying to get screening, DR screening, done on the primary care level. And this is not to say that the primary care physicians are trying to get into the eye care world. Quite the opposite. What they're trying to do is say, hey, if we screen and we take these photos and understand that there may be diabetic retinopathy, then who do we need to put those patients in front of? Is it an optometrist to possibly have them triaged to understand that it then needs to go to an ophthalmologist to be cared for, or they can hang on to them? Is it that they go directly over to an ophthalmologist because you may have an excellent partnership or a good network that you utilize to refer from? And then the other is we're going to have very good relationships with large scale groups like Optum. We're more than happy if somebody is on Harmony or not on Harmony, but you want to be part of that referral program. From Optum standpoint, going PCP over to optometry or ophthalmology, let us know. We will work with you to make sure that you are connected with the proper people to help you grow your referral network via Harmony. And then the last one is, and this is actually pretty interesting, as we're growing and we're evolving, there's two different elements I'm going to put out there. I wanted to say ideas, but the problem is that IDEA is the name of one of them. So it would be redundant, but IDEA is a Topcon derived nonprofit where you'll be able to share your data, knowing that it is completely secure. And you're able to pull data if you're a researcher as well. And we can talk more about that and get you connected to folks if need be. And then on the beekeeper side, that's actually a piece of artificial intelligence that allows you to very securely allow others to have access to your database while not giving up any of that data. You're simply making it so that your database is now autonomous. There's no patient data. And if they want to look in and try to pull metrics off of the data, Beekeeper makes sure that you hang on to that data, that it is completely secure. It also protects those that are developing the AI modules because it secures that information as well, so that way nobody can backwards engineer that. So those are the 5, but on the left side, though, the part that I haven't talked about is really the new direction of Topcon. And what I mean by that, at the center, you see something that we call the Topcon experience. And what that entails is, in the past, you may have been used to having a local representative, a direct sales representative, that he or she would show up every regular period of time and talk about the different equipment needs that you would have. That's going to change because of the roadmap that we're talking about right now, and really starting to lead with solutional or software sales where there is not a huge capital purchase, but that there's a leveraging of your install base. And we can work with you directly with that direct salesperson to answer some of those questions. But the key is that you see 5 other entities that are up on the screen. Corporate accounts. It used to be that we would call on corporate accounts with just one particular salesperson. We're now doing it in a pod, so that way the pod can call on the corporate account leaders that are there, but that's a national account. So we have direct sales that are going to want to call on them as well to support those customers. We also have sales engineering. Let's say you're doing some form of an expansion, and you now have 5 offices, and you're trying to understand, okay, if I'm going to roll something like this out that's software derived, what do I need? Do I want to do an on-premise storage? Do I want to do cloud storage? Do I have the proper computer equipment? There's no extra charge. That's what sales engineering does. They are there to simply help you architect out what does that framework look like, work with your current IT folks, or if you do need to bring in somebody outside of your particular structure currently, we can work directly with them as well. I'm going to skip over healthcare solutions and go to the service team, and I'll come back to the healthcare solutions. From a service standpoint, and I would recommend that down the road, we also actually have Ali Zendadel, who is our VP of Operations, do a webinar on this. It is by far, I've been at Topcon now for a little over a year. There is no question this is our strongest suit as a corporation. Our service team is bar none the best that I've ever been part of. And it's not just the people, the field service engineers, the clinical application specialists. It's the way that the portal has been set up. And it's not just Topcon equipment. You can actually, any one of the pieces of equipment that you have, we can get it into our portal. You have access to our service team, and they can answer questions and even try to schedule service needs for other companies if need be. But that's down the road. I just want you to know that we have a very, very strong service team. And then the last 2 that we're going to cover, because they kind of go hand in hand, is the Harmony team, which is what we talked about. That's the software. That team is going to be working with sales engineering and all of the others that are out there up on the screen right now to make sure that it is implemented properly, that you feel very comfortable with all of the efficiencies that are going to come in with not only the imagery and the data, but any of the AI modules that would be available as we're moving forward. And so all of that ties back into the healthcare solutions. The healthcare solutions is simply our PCP initiative, utilizing Harmony and then making that connected care network so that way you have that referral network from PCP to optometry to ophthalmology and all the different specialties within ophthalmology, as well as cardiovascular, nephrology, and all of that, as we're talking about that from a systemic health standpoint. So that's the key. Is really, truly, this is the new Topcon, and making sure that you have a team that is going to support you. It's not just one, it's a full company that's going to support you with development as we're moving forward. So as you've heard all of this, I'm going to get a little bit deeper into BioAge and talk about what makes this a successful pilot. If you're thinking of doing this, we are more than happy to perform a pilot with you. Could be 30 days, could be 60 days where we can set this all up. But what do you need to do as you're moving forward? What you need to do, first of all, is understand, if I'm screening, why am I screening? What am I looking for, and what does it tell us? So you may have an Optos, and that Optos is going to give you all sorts of static imagery of the different pathologies that could be in the back of the eye currently. You may be doing an OCT with just a regular fundus off of our Maestro 2, for example, or our Triton. And then there's these reports that you can look at, whether it be the T-SNP looking at the RNFL, it could be the ganglion cellular layer, whatever that may be. What we're giving you at that particular moment in time without previous exams is a snapshot in time. And I always use this analogy. If I showed you a picture of a Ferrari in the middle of a road, is that Ferrari parked? Is it going 10 miles per hour? Is it going 150 miles per hour? And from that static image, you really can't tell. It's just an image. And so that if that video, which is a frame after frame after frame depiction of how quickly that car is moving through the frame, now all of a sudden that gives you a little bit more gauge as to what's taking place. What's happening with the old/current screening is you're getting those flashes and they're super, super valuable. But now we're starting to take the next step. And that next step is, what can we garner from those images? In screening technology, it may be static currently, but AI technology is going to give the provider all of that extra awareness of the patient's systemic health as we move forward, and health metrics in disease indices that are going to provide insight that are otherwise not easily available. There's a myriad of testing you have to do. Most of them are invasive. That is why I wanted to show you the capability of BioAge and Harmony, so that way you can see how you're pulling in all of this information and then utilizing one quick test, which we'll go through here in a second, to give you some very relevant information. Even though it's simplistic, you'll understand why I will tell you that it's very, very detail oriented, despite the simplistic aspect of what we're putting in front of you as a test result. So what do you normally do? I'm not going to go through all of this because you probably learned this in med school. It's a decision tree of all the different things that you've got to cover off on. As far as the patient history, there's all sorts of information you have to garner. The vital signs that are out there, blood tests, advancing imaging, other types of testing can be very invasive and expensive. And all the data then needs to be scrutinized by the physician, potentially via a consult and over time. And that takes a lot of time as you're looking through that before you visit the patient. After the patient is gone, you're charting, you're trying to document all that as you're moving forward. And so the old way of gathering that patient information is highly inefficient. It's great that we're doing it, but there are better ways for us to do that. And that's what we're going to try to show you as we're moving forward. So BioAge is simply a way for you to take 2 scans, and what it will tell you is the patient advancing faster than their cohorts? In other words, I'm a 58-year-old white male. Am I advancing faster up to 63 years of age, which means that I may have some sort of systemic issue, cardiovascular issue, nephrology issue? Or am I super duper healthy and now I'm 53 years of age while I'm actually 58, I'm aging at a slower rate? So why I wanted to show this particular slide is when you hear BioAge, you immediately go, okay, so it's going to tell me if I'm aging faster and slower. What does that mean and why would I care? The reason you care about that is the kernel of BioAge is what you see here, something called Claire. So Claire is already CE approved. Claire has its own FDA clearance, or I guess I should call it the way that they name it, is out there right now as approved, but it needs clearance that should take place at the end of 2025, early 2026. What does Claire do? Claire is actually going to be a cardiovascular risk score. And that module is going to give you all sorts of different data, all based around the Framingham Heart Study and other studies that have taken place to the tune of over 1.5 million patients, that now you can start to understand the strength of AI and the data lakes that are created and where all of this data is pulled in with artificial intelligence. Right now, because it's not approved, there's this shell program, BioAge, which utilizes the same type of information in detail to give you a very simplistic reading of, are you aging faster, the same, or slower than your counterparts that are out there? So I'm going to tell you a very quick story. I'm down in a meeting and we're doing these free BioAge screenings, and up walks this physician, very in shape gentleman. He's in his mid-40s. Sits down, we're chatting away. We take the 2 images. We're chatting while we're waiting for his score to come back. He's an avid marathoner. He's an optometrist, actually, who was there at this particular convention. And then out comes the score. And it turns out that he's actually aging 5 years faster than he should be. So I think he was 44 years old. He was aging at 49. And he said, well, that's concerning. And I thought, I'm new to the program. Maybe I didn't do it right. Maybe there's some other issue. And a gentleman from Toku who's over my shoulder says, no. It's definitely, it's right, because this is how the actual program works. The doctor interrupts me and he says, no, I can tell you why it's troubling to me. Yes, I'm an avid marathoner, so you would think I wouldn't have an issue. Why it's troubling to me is my father actually had early onset of cardiovascular disease. So this means I need to go get checked. So while I don't like seeing it, I'm really glad that I took this test today, because I was not thinking of going and seeing my cardiologist. Now I know that I need to make sure that I get that done. That's one story. And you can imagine if you're looking at your patient population and the different folks that will come through on a regular basis, there are some statistics that I'm going to show you at the end of this that are frightening. when you start looking at people that do not know that they have cardiovascular disease. This is one of those tools that you have and that you can offer to your patients in a very simplistic way with BioAge for now. But then as these AI modules develop more and more and more, you can now start to imagine what does that look like as you move forward, being able to offer not just one screening, but maybe it's a myriad or a set of screenings that you can do for these particular patients given their health history. Maybe they've got Alzheimer's or dementia or again, kidney disease, whatever it may be. You could pick that AI module for that particular disease state and then do some form of screening for that particular patient. And it's very easy. So we're getting towards the end of this, and I wanted to at least share, this is a really awesome time to be in medicine. And what I want to share is that it's not a cash flow opportunity simplistically. This is literally talking about providing top-notch healthcare, utilizing data points that truly can save the life via early diagnosis. I shared that story for a reason. And the reason that I shared that story with that one particular doctor is the stat that you see over here. 2/3 of heart attack sufferers have undetected cardiovascular disease. 2/3. There's over 800,000 heart attacks in the US every year. 2/3 of them had no idea that they had cardiovascular disease. So when you start thinking about the power of what we're going to be able to provide for our patients as a full group of physicians, regardless of what your specialty is, whether it be PCP, optometry, ophthalmology, retina, cornea, neurology, cardiovascular, what this does is it gives us the ability to put in front of the patient something that they otherwise may not be looking to do, and that is understand what is happening with their systemic health. 6 out of 10 patients will go get their eye exam done annually. If this is the type of information that we can find and we can share with these patients, you can only imagine the impact it will have with healthcare, not only in the United States, but globally, and not only within your practice, but even within the town that you may be practicing in and the state that you're practicing. It is that far reaching and it is that detail oriented that I really do believe this is a new horizon of medicine that I'm proud to be part of with Topcon. And I hope you see the value as we're moving forward to be able to take the next step. And so I leave with this slide. It's just earlier detection and better management of disease powered by Harmony, enabling a connected care ecosystem. It's the future of healthcare. And that future of healthcare is healthcare from the eye. And so with that, I'd like to open it up to questions. Here is my email. By all means, please feel free. Would love for you to send me any questions that I have. Not going to lie to you, I don't know all the answers. Well, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't know a lot of the answers. So I'll get the people that are smarter than I am, and hopefully we'll get it so that way we can get you the answers that you need as we're moving forward. So any questions we want to go through currently?
Pat, that was an excellent, excellent presentation. And it's literally taking eye care into total body care, like you said. And, poets used to say the eyes are, the way to get to the soul. Now we're really getting to the body, like you said. It's incredible. So
Yeah.
the question we have, the first question is, you mentioned that this information can be readily or easily shared with PCPs and those who don't have Harmony. How does that really happen? Can you explain?
Yeah, no, great question. No, that's an excellent question because I asked the same question when I first started. So the way that it works is there will be a link that would be sent. So the referring physician, let me back up. When you go into Harmony, and we can go through this later on if you guys want to do another webinar, but there's simply a referral tab. You would click if they're in the group that you have loaded in, which we can make sure that that's done. You would simply click and then it would send an email. The email will have a link. That link is secure, so it's only for that particular physician, for that particular patient. They would then be able to open up an online version to be able to look through the data, look through the imagery, and then they're able to send back whatever notes that they would want to make directly to the physician that referred that out initially. So that's the way that it's used without Harmony. Now, would it be better if they had Harmony? It would be easier so that way they're able to utilize that. But what we don't want to do is make it so that it's, hey, you have to buy Harmony in order to participate. We want to make sure that it's open to everybody.
Got it. And so it's pretty easy to integrate, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Yeah. And we could show people if anybody's looking to do a pilot, we can definitely demonstrate that when we're going through it, and we're improving it as we move through the development of the software.
What about a report? Is something printed out or generated that we as ophthalmologists or optometrists can hand to our patient to demonstrate their bio age? Because they're not going to remember everything we tell them.
Yes, that's an excellent question. There's a printed report that would come out. It's very simple, very straightforward. There's also then a QR code that they can scan. That QR code takes them to their website. And what I love about the way that BioAge does it is on their website, the patient would just simply sign up. And then on the bottom of it, it tells them when they should be coming back for their annual BioAge, how long, it's a countdown timer to how long until they need to get it done again. So it's done very well. The other is that they are partnered with the American Heart Association, and the 8 different steps you can take to decrease your bioage or to increase your cardiovascular health. So that's all tied into their website as well. It's actually really slick set up the way that it's done through Harmony.
That's really helpful. So it's not only the report, but there are also tips and advice on how to maybe get your bio age to correlate better with your chronological age.
That's exactly it. No, that really is. And I think that the idea behind this, just to take it one step further, is to empower the patient to really understand you control your health, right? And that's what, these types of things and these little rings and stuff help you do. But in this particular case, I think it takes it one step further to the standpoint of, hey, we're going to provide some really good information. It's coming from a physician like the folks that are on the call. And then the flip side of that is not only does it empower them, but it also now connects them to the referred care and the proper care that they may need to be able to take their health journey to the next step for care.
That's great. Now, what percentage of the time, Pat, are these different pieces of equipment able to capture a good enough image through a non-dilated pupil, because often these are non-dilated exams, to be able to get a bio age printout?
Yeah, it's fairly high, believe it or not. And so there's a couple. I know that with our NW500 and the slit lamp technology, the slit technology, I should say, it gives us the ability to get into a smaller pupil. There are others that are out there, but it would be the same thing as any camera. And that would simply be, as we were talking before we hopped on, make sure you have a darker area, right? Try to get the pupil to open up as much as possible. If somebody has a dense cataract, that may cause some issues as you're moving forward. But for the most part, it's very high. I could get the statistics. I don't know them off the top of my head, but I could reach out to the folks at Toku and see if I can't get what that is currently, because they do track that.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that pretty much anybody can press the button to capture these images. Can you tell us a little bit about technician training and the level of technician training that's required to do these types of exams?
Yeah, absolutely. So my experience, just so you guys know in the background, I was one of the group that launched the Stratus OCT. Yes, I'm that old. Don't pick on me. The other was we launched the Cirrus with Zeiss. I then went with Lance Patton, who's our chief commercial officer, to Heidelberg Engineering. So I've sold the Spectralis. I know OCT very well. From there, went to Optos, so understand the wide field imaging. I also understand what goes into all of the training of the technician as you're moving forward to try to get somebody so that they're proficient on any one of the instruments that I just talked about. One of the things that Topcon has taken a very strong initiative, and it really truly is the leader, is this robotic acquisition. And so when I started a year ago, I'm all fired up. I'm going to get ready. How am I going to become the best at being able to create these images? And one of the gentlemen that I worked with, actually, Greg Hoffmeyer, who is at Zeiss, who's like the godfather of OCT in my world, he was like, take it easy. This is super simple. You're going to be disappointed at how easy it is. It is literally, you push a button, you get the patient in, you push a button, it will find what it needs to find. You then press, and then away it goes. Takes an image of the right eye, takes an image of the left eye, the patient sits back, you're done. And so when I say that, a lot of people who have utilized other OCTs, I don't think really understand it. I did not when somebody tried to explain it to me. If you're at a trade show, if you're coming to ASCRS, if you're going to be at any of the trade shows, or if you want to get a demo from the local rep, I definitely would suggest do it, because when you see this equipment in action, the reason that we say that it's the cornerstone, the robotic acquisition, is we all know what happens. We have turnover on a regular basis. And to get a highly trained individual, if they leave, you're kind of in a lurch. And so what's nice about this is we want anybody and everybody to be able to take these images for two reasons. One is the acquisition and the efficiencies it creates, but the third, which is probably the most important, is the continuity. How frequently do we get really good images as we're moving forward, so that way you have that in place on a regular basis. And again, there's always going to be the outliers that will be tough to get. Again, dense cataracts, somebody who has nystagmus, whatever it may be. There is a manual mode to that as well. So if you need to be able to do it manually, you can still do that as well.
That's great. Well, it has been a fantastically informative presentation. Pat, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
And all of you on the webinar tonight and those who then are accessing it on demand, if you're going to ASCRS, go to the Topcon booth. They'll have these pieces of equipment there, and you get to test it out and see what your bio age is. I know I'm going to do it.